The idea for Squid Game came to me during a tough time in my life. It was 2008, and I was struggling with money, reading a lot of Korean comics called manhwa, and hoping things would get better. A lot of people in South Korea were having similar problems, and I saw how the struggles in these comics were like what was happening in real life. One day in a comic book store, I found a story about people who had to play deadly games to escape being poor. That idea really stuck with me. It reflected the worries and pressures I was feeling, and I felt like it was a story that needed to be told, a story about what happens to people when they're pushed too far. This idea stayed with me for years. I kept working on it, thinking about my own experiences and what I saw happening with inequality around me. The big financial crisis of 2008 made me want to explore these themes even more, like how money problems can make people do extreme things to survive. The characters in Squid Game came from these experiences and observations. I wanted to create characters that felt real, with flaws, and who were driven by desperation. Their stories, even though they're made up, show the struggles that many people face in our competitive world. Once I had the story and characters, I started trying to get production companies interested in Squid Game, but most of them said no. The violent games, the sad story, and the social message were too much for them. Some thought the violence was too extreme and would scare viewers away. Others didn't think a story with such dark themes would be popular. They thought the idea was too strange, too disturbing, and too risky. For almost 10 years, Squid Game was stuck. Every rejection made me less confident, and I wondered if the story would ever be made. But I still believed in it, and I knew it could start important conversations about problems that people often ignore. Just when I was about to give up, Netflix came along. They were looking for new and interesting shows from all over the world, and Squid Game, with its unique idea and relevant themes, got their attention. Unlike the other companies, Netflix wasn't afraid of the show's dark and violent parts. They saw that it could connect with people around the world. Their support changed everything. They gave me the money to make the show, and they also gave me creative freedom. They told me to push the boundaries and explore the darker parts of the story. This trust was really important because it let me stay true to my original idea and make a show that was both powerful and impactful. Netflix being so big also helped the show become successful. They helped Squid Game reach millions of people everywhere, starting conversations about inequality all over the world. A really important part of Squid Game's success was the characters. I wanted to create real people, not just simple characters with depth, flaws, and reasons for doing what they do. Even though they were in terrible situations, each character had to have some good in them, some hope, which would make their stories even more powerful. Gi-hun, the main character, shows this struggle. He's a divorced dad with lots of debt, just trying to take care of his daughter. His journey through the games shows how he has to make difficult choices, and how surprisingly strong he is. We see him tested again and again, having to face his own values and the choices he makes under pressure. Other characters like Se-byok, who escaped from North Korea, and Sang-woo, the businessman who lost everything, also have their own problems. Their backstories, which we learn more about throughout the show, make them more complex and show the bigger problems that led them to the games. Visually, Squid Game uses bright colors to contrast with the really harsh realities of the story. The games happen in places with bright colors like a playground. This makes things feel even more unsettling and shows how innocence is twisted in the series. The costumes are important too. The players all wear the same green tracksuits, which makes them anonymous, like they're just pieces in a game. The guards, in their pink jumpsuits and masks, represent control and order. This contrast between the playful look and the terrible violence creates a strange and disturbing feeling, pulling viewers into the psychology of the games. It reflects the show's main themes: how fragile life is, how tempting money can be, and how desperation can make people lose their humanity.